Welcome to Suzanne's studio. I'm Suzanne Barnett, your host, and tonight I really am honored and excited to present my two guests. First, we have Nancy Kao, who is the Executive Director at the Forum San Antonio, and then we have Lynda Kaser, who is the, tell me,
Healthcare administrator.
Healthcare administrator. Now, I'm going to be better with this next part because I kept thinking these two ladies are the big wheels at the Forum. And I just kept thinking, how can I describe them both at the same time? So here it goes with the capital letter D. Devoted, dedicated, daunting, dynamic, delightful, and darling. And they are darling. Anyway, I did it. I'm so glad, Nancy, you're here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here, too.
And Lynda, I'm so glad you're here, too.
It's a pleasure.
I just wish that we could do the show while we're just talking. It's so, it's so much more fun. Okay, since you're the executive director, and Nancy, you've been at the Forum for 16 years.
Correct.
And how did you start out? And how did you want to become a person in this profession?
So I started 16 years ago in the healthcare center. I was the social worker, the program director, marketing and sales, and admissions. So they combined a whole bunch of different positions for me so that I could really experience the healthcare operations. Along the way, I always knew I wanted to work with seniors. I was very influenced by my grandmother who lived with me while I was growing up. She had lots of friends that came over, and I just realized how wise they were. They had wealth of experience. Every day I talk with them, drink conversations. I just realized I wanted to serve that population. So as I went to school for recreational therapy and social work, I continued my knowledge or understanding of the gerontology field and just kept on going. And as I experienced each one of the departments in the community, I realized I liked the overall operation, and that's how I planned my career to become the executive director at the Forum.
Did you always know that you were going to be the executive director?
I think I always hoped to be.
Yeah, yeah.
But definitely I knew that I wanted to have some leadership role.
Yes.
So I wanted to be able to have a role that I can motivate my team for continued success of a community.
Yeah. Okay, Lynda, tell us about you. How did you get started in this profession?
Well, similarly with Nancy, my grandmother was very close with our family, and I became a nurse and also became her toenail specialist.
Pedicurist, yeah.
Yes, as well as her manicurist. And I would go and I would take care of that every 2 weeks. And as I would sit at the base of her feet and visit with her, she would tell me stories about Russia, where she was from, and how difficult it was coming over to the country and how privileged it was living in the United States. And as we shared and we talked and I became more familiar with that, at one point in time she became ill, and I became more of her caregiver and until she passed away. At that point in time, I realized how valuable it was taking care of the elderly. So that became my mission.
And don't you think that we're born with certain, I call it a talent. It really is a talent. And now I understand it's very difficult to get doctors and nurses in the profession because of, all of the paperwork and stuff. Anyway, I want to ask both of you, what is the best part? And I'm going to ask you what is the most difficult part, because it's such an awesome position. And I live at the Forum, so that's why I'm just so thrilled, really, to have both of you on, because I don't think I have ever been so impressed with that kind of living, independent living, but it's very different, and you have made it really, really comfortable and happy for me, really. So what's the best part?
The best part is the people, the residents in the community, the staff member that we work with every day, that we mentor. Like you mentioned, there's something about why you get into this field is really the passion and the compassion. And then you see that with all our staff and our residents, again, wealth of experience. I don't think a day I go home without learning something new. And, you know, it's just a very, I'm always so honored to be able to work for the residents and for the team. You know, my team is a pretty amazing group of people. Like you mentioned, it's a wonderful place to work. It's not just because of us, it's because of the whole team member that service and serve you on a daily basis.
Yeah, yeah. What's the worst part, the most difficult part?
The most difficult part is pleasing. We have 319 membership, so pleasing all 319 members. Everybody has different, you know, ideas of what's good quality. So really wanting to make sure that we do that every day, that people go home, you know, feeling good about their experience here at the forum, family members, working with them. I think probably the other part that's most difficult is when you lose somebody, because we do build those relationships.
Yeah. That would be, how do you deal with that when you lose somebody? I mean, I know when I lose, they're my friends. How do you two deal with that?
Through the years, I have found that I've found peace within myself, knowing, because I work as an administrator in skilled nursing and assisted living, and I deal with a lot of hospice residents, knowing that I gave them, and the staff that works there gave them the best that they could, and that they had some quality with their life. And within that, I'm able to find the peace to say goodbye to those individuals. The other thing that's very valuable are the memories and the stories that they have shared. And I'm able to share those stories with other people. That keeps their memory alive.
You're full of stories. Do you mind telling one of your favorites?
Oh, I would love to share
goody,
with you a story.
goody.
I had a very good friend back in Tempe. Her name was Catherine Noel, and she was a debutante that had been raised to be an opera singer, and her grandmother lived in Montana, and so she traveled to Montana to visit her grandmother, and she met a cowboy, and she was 17 years old, and she fell in love with the cowboy, and her grandmother was very upset. So she said, I'm going to send you away to Europe, where you're going to learn how to sing in the opera. So she went to Europe. She was there for 5 years. She dated a prince, and her grandmother was excited because Catherine was going to be nobility. But as it turned out, when she came back to sing in the New York Opera, Don Noel had come from Montana and met her there, and Catherine and Don got married, and they moved to Montana. And she loved to share that story because she said things aren't always the way they're meant to be. And with that, she was one of the most beautiful people I had ever known, and she died when she was 102.
Wow, what would have happened, I wonder, if she hadn't married the cowboy?
I don't know. Knowing Catherine, she was 102 with a 35-year-old spirit inside of her.
Wow.
And she would have made it happen because she was a very strong-minded person.
Thank you for telling that story,
You're welcome.
Lynda. This is kind of, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but it has come to me that I live in I'm a resident, right? And the thought of my having to move to assisted living is so scary. How do you deal with that? I don't think I'm the only one that feels that way.
I think that's a fair factor
Yeah.
for a
Yes.
lot of residents.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that the forum's philosophy is always to have people age in place, meaning that services can be provided into your home to keep you independent in any setting. Assisted living is a beautiful environment. There is a very social module. Residents, when they might say, you know, we're not ready to move to the assisted living, but when they do move, they're extremely happy. As you know,
I
being
do know
a
that,
resident in
yeah.
the community,
Yeah.
that our last resident satisfaction score, assisted living had the highest satisfaction from the residents in the community. And so that's a great compliment. The residents are extremely happy there. It's just a difficult, anytime you have a change, it's a difficult transition.
But I wouldn't be happy there, Lynda. What are you going to do about that?
Well, what we're going to try and do to help you,
Yeah.
Suzanne, is we're going to try and educate you that wherever you move in whatever part of the continuum is going to be your home. And we're going to make it your home. You bring your things. You may not be able to bring all of your things, but you can bring your things. And we find out what time would you like to get up in the morning? What would you like to have for breakfast? What time would you like to go to bed? What types of things do you like to do? We want to know the person. We want to find out the essence of who you are so that we can take care of you in an appropriate manner. Once you feel comfortable with that and you overcome that fear, then it becomes more of that home that where you want to live.
Yeah.
So it's up in your mind.
Of course. Okay, now we're going to change the subject. Let's talk a little bit about your personal lives. How's your family?
My family is
we
wonderful.
want to hear.
I have, I'm a single mom, so I have 2 children. One's not a child anymore. She's 19. She's a junior in college. She's very independent, has very straight goals that she's aiming for. She's always wanted to be a pediatrician, and then along the way, during college, taking courses, she realized that maybe that's not the direction she wants to go. She really wants to manage operation, so switch her major to business. So we're very happy for her. It's whatever makes her happy. So just glad that she's in college. My son's a junior in high school at Mountain View High School, and he's just so much fun to be around. I think they're kind of my joy and pride. Really enjoy having them around, and it's starting to feel that this is his junior year, next year will be his senior year, and so looking forward to spend just as much free time as I can with both of them.
So you're pretty happy.
I am.
And what do you do for fun?
I do all kind of things. I've made some amazing friends through work, so that's wonderful. We hike because we were right next to the open space. So on the weekend, some hiking is always fun. I like to play golf, so golfing is something that I enjoy. I've been trying to talk Lynda into going out with me, and she hasn't taken me up on that offer yet. But golfing, I like to read. I enjoy being around my family. My parents is still local, so I visit with them on a weekly basis, a couple times a week to see them and see how they're doing.
So, you're so pure.
Aw.
You are. You are. We're not going to tell the real dirt.
No,
there's nothing.
not today. Maybe
Not
another
today.
time. A little nervous today.
Yeah. Second show.
Yes.
Lynda. And the other thing is, tell how Lynda came to the forum.
So
it's such a cute story.
Our residents are the owners of the community because we're a common interest development. We're a stock co-op. So we have, again, 319 members. And the board has selected a management company, which is Life Care Services. And with all the resources that they bring into the community, when I lost my healthcare administrator, they said, we have the perfect person for you. She could come in for an interim position, and you could have her help you look for the right healthcare administrator. So Lynda came, and she lived in our assisted living, actually in our memory support suite. And so she lived there for quite a while, helping us out. So she's helping me with the interviewing process. We're having just a great time, really interviewing some great people. Mm-hmm. And then one day I decided, Lynda's been here for a while. Her family isn't here. I'll take her to San Francisco and show her around. We're in the middle of a wine bar. A drink later, Lynda says, why can't I apply for this position? And I said, wow, I wasn't sure you were interested. Mm-hmm. And along with that, she went through the whole interviewing process, met with myself for a formal interview, met with the whole direct report team, and then met with the board of directors. Mm-hmm. And it was a thumbs up, and we have Lynda now.
Thank you.
How long, Lynda, have you been there?
3 years in September. And it's gone by like a blink of an eye.
Mm-hmm. But what's so great is that the two of you obviously have to work very closely together. And not only that, but you've become best friends.
And there's I have a great deal of respect for Nancy, her position and what she does at the forum. She's worked very hard, and she's very considerate. She takes care of her staff and the residents.
And of course, Lynda, you know her. She's a compassionate, kind,
know
generous
it.
with her heart and soul. So it's just a very nice connection. We're kind of like the married couple. You know, in the industry, the healthcare administrator
Yeah,
and the executive
that's
director are married in some way because we
Yeah.
make so many decisions together
course.
for the operation.
Of course. So both of you better stay healthy and don't get old, right? So tell us about your life, Lynda.
Well, I have a fabulous husband who is a golfing professional, and we've been on and off together for about 25 years. And I have 2 children that are grown, and they live in Colorado. My son Eric and my daughter Allison. Allison has been married for, oh gosh, probably 20 years. I have 5 grandchildren. She has 2 daughters and a son, and my son is divorced and he has 2 little boys. And as Nancy talked about her children, my children are incredible. I love them and I miss them, but we speak often, and I travel back to Colorado at least quarterly so that I can see everyone. And my son was just out with my grandchildren for a week, and we had a ball.
Of course.
Yes.
So what do you do for real fun?
What do I do for real
I
fun?
mean, you just did, no, but I mean, as well as having, thank God you both have such, you know, harmonious families, but what about golf? Having a professional husband as a golfer, what is that like?
Well, in the beginning of our marriage, it was tough because he was playing in the European Tour and he was playing in various tournaments. But now he's settled in and he's a teaching professional and he works locally, which is very nice. But what we like to do for fun is play gamble. We go to the Indian casinos.
No kidding, I didn't know that. Yay,
Now you know the dirty truth.
the dirty truth. How do you come out? I mean,
I win.
We have a resident at the forum who, we're not going to mention names, but she's unbelievable. And evidently, she says she usually always wins, but she gets free airplane trips, the penthouse, the food.
wow.
So it's hard to believe that she
You'll have to
always
tell us
wins.
who it is.
It's usually the other way around. Yeah. So getting back to your profession, what do you think of the fact that we're all living longer? And what about people that cannot afford a beautiful place like the Forum, and that they're depressed and they're lonely? And in our area, that really shouldn't be the case, but I understand there are some really bad cases. What do you think's going to happen?
You know, I think there's many other options for senior living nowadays. There's rental properties, monthly fees. You know, there's all different kind of options for people. You know, I'm not sure if I would depend on Medicare or any of the government funding in low-income housing to really continue to provide as much housing or services as they are currently. I think that's going to change. I do believe that there will be options. There's going to be people who's going to want to stay home longer. Our competition is definitely going to be changing. There's a lot of conversation about CCRC without walls, services being provided in people's home. I worry exactly what you just mentioned is that when people stay home, even though they have all the services in place, there's still that depression, that isolation. That's huge for a healthy aging process. Our residents, we're very proud to say at the Forum, we did a study, an actuarial study with A.V. Powell's, and our resident lived 3 years longer than other residents in other communities. And so, you know, we think that's being contributed to how active and how people network and that sense of community. I think it's very important.
Oh, it makes such a difference, even though it's a really difficult adjustment.
Yes.
And I don't think I've ever gone through anything like this. But I just am so fortunate. And it's so interesting because I usually have so many guests outside of the forum, but the people at the forum are so hot. They're so interesting, really.
They are.
And they want to be on the show. And of course, if someone is kind of lukewarm about it, I don't go for it. But nobody's been that way. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to keep. No, I really am so proud to be able to feature the residents. I really,
Well, and
really
they
am.
each have a fabulous story to tell.
They do.
They really do.
They do. I mean, it's so awful. It's so difficult to get old. But, I mean, we have no choice. And to be able, though, to look back on our lives, and so many people are really special. And you all get to experience that. Are you afraid of getting old?
No, not at all.
Honestly?
No.
Oh, I always have been.
Have you?
Yeah. Oh,
But,
yeah.
but you don't. You have aged beautifully, and you're very active, and you're very bright, and you're very social, and you do this wonderful program.
But it's going to end soon.
But then you do something else.
No, I'm going to die.
Oh,
Don't get me started on that.
But we will have the
Yeah,
best celebration when that happens, because that's what you will want.
Well, no. It's so funny because when I was about 50, and I said, I'm not gonna have the kind of memorial where you're celebrating. I want people to be crying their eyes out. But I've changed. It's not gonna matter anyway. Really. So, do you really think the future for old people, and you guys are going to get old, what do you think it's going to be like?
I think technology is going to play a huge part. As you know, with the forum, we've already connected with some startup companies to look at robotics to take away some of the routine tasks that our staff do.
Oh, I didn't know
to
that.
be able to provide more care. I think there's going to be lots of innovative ideas through technology. I know we have a guest speaker from Uber that's going to be coming to talk about how to utilize Uber, and our residents are excited. Every one of our residents has a tablet that we provide for them so they can have
Right.
other communication.
Yeah.
So I think technology is going to play a huge part, whatever part of the continuum you're going to be living in.
Yeah.
Lynda?
not only that, but because people are going to be living longer, and they are living
Right,
longer,
yeah,
we have to look at the total wellness of the total person, and be able to offer them more things. I mean, you just can't say, okay, today we're going to play bingo, and on Friday we're going to go out to lunch. As Nancy talked about, you have to have stimulating programs. You have to have people come in. You have to be able to take them out to events. It's it may be challenging, but I think it'll be very exciting.
Yeah. Our youngest resident is 62. Our oldest resident's 107.
Seven.
And so think of the different generations, the programs that we have to be able to provide.
That's right. That's right. And it's so stimulating.
It is. It's exciting.
And people say, well, what's it like to live in a, community, residential community? And the only really bad thing is the time goes by so much quicker because there's so much
to
going
do.
on.
There's a lot going on.
And one of the things that I think is so helpful is, say one of the spouses dies, there is a support system
There is.
that just is automatic, so you're not alone. Yeah.
That's where the sadness comes in areas that we don't have any, we can't do anything about, is the loneliness that people face because they choose to be isolated. And at the forum,
You can't be,
That's
even
right.
if you want to be.
yeah.
There's a lot of things going on.
Oh, I know. Okay, we're getting towards the end of the program, and you said something in the card that I thought was very, very interesting and needs to be, what's the word? Shared.
Shared.
Okay.
It's such a phony word. But thank God I finally thought of it. But anyway, tell your philosophy, Lynda.
There are 3 things that I try to live by in a philosophical sense. And those 3 things are, the first is that energy follows thought, and as you think, so you become. The second thing is fear attracts like, and whatever you fear is going to keep coming back until you deal with it. And then the third thing is love is all there is. And that's why we're here,
To love.
to love.
What if you don't like that person, though? How
You
can you
find
love
somebody
them?
else.
Yeah, you're right. What a good answer. I never even thought about that. That's a really good answer. No, I just, it's so funny because every time I have somebody that I interview from the forum, it's like an advertisement for the forum, really. But
I'm okay
it's-
with that.
I know it. But, you know, when it's part of your life, and for someone like me, I never ever thought I'd move from my house, and I didn't have to. But once I got through it, I realized how really blessed and fortunate I am, really. So anybody out there, we could call the forum. No, this is not an advertisement, really. But I thank you so much, Nancy.
Thank you.
And Lynda. I've just really gotten to know you, and you are super. And the two of you are so lucky. And we are so lucky as residents. And of course, this is the best part. My crew is so special. We've been together for a long time, and I asked them one time, how come, you know, you guys are so faithful, because it's all volunteer. And they said, frankly, because your guests are so special. I've had so many wonderful guests like you. I wish you two the best, only the best of health, and may your lives continue to be, thank God, as exciting as ever. And this is the really hot part, because this is so important. I want to thank my audience for watching. And you know what? I always say this. I can't wait to see you next time. Bye-bye. I do.